Welcome back to the East Side Sauce, episode 6. As always, I'm your host, Jack Woods.
And I'm JB Houston, again bringing some more
And,
quarantine content.
yep. And we've been saying this for a few weeks now. Looks like this is not ending anytime soon.
Yeah, clearly not. The three-stage plan, I think, is slated to allow schools to reopen at the start of 2021, which would be pretty big. We'd be missing the start of the 2020-2021 school year, obviously, in September. What do you think about that, Jack?
I think it's a shame. I think that we're in stage 1 now. I know Annapolis is, and I think all of Maryland, they're closed till the end of June.
Right.
And then the main thing of that I've heard is that colleges are still going to be charging students full tuition, even though it's online class based.
That's just not necessary. There should be a pretty big discount, in my opinion. Um,
Yeah,
Colleges
and
already screw their students over, so.
I know some schools are they have added discounts or they've like cut tuition in half, but then they've added a bunch of fees on top of it so that it equals out. So you're paying the exact same amount,
Yeah,
but it looks
it's
like they put a discount on so they make you think that they're doing a good thing. But yeah, I think that just opening all the way to not till next year is gonna I can't see it happening, but then again, I also thought we were gonna be back in school by May. So I'm not really one to talk.
I'd just like to point out the fact that
But
my
yeah,
track record on predicting the closures has been amazing so far.
you're not so much.
All right, so apparently movie theaters are reopening and they're showing throwback movies like Jaws, Psycho, and Back to the Future. Might have to go watch
Yeah,
Back to the Future in theaters.
definitely. I mean, really fun to watch. Yeah, I heard. So cinemas, they're saying that as far as I know, some cinemas have not closed yet. They've been open through this entire thing. Just they're only packed to like half or quarter capacity.
Right.
But I think that'd be really cool to like the first time they open back up. I also saw that they're gonna also have lower ticket prices by like 30%. So you're no longer paying $20 to see the movie. So that'll be cool because it'll be like a true 80s, 90s throwback. You get
Yeah.
to see the movies and it won't cost you a small fortune to go watch them.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely Back to the Future. I love Back to the Future despite a lot of people's beliefs, which kind of pisses me off. It's a great movie. But
Yeah.
yeah, definitely have to go check that out when it comes to Maryland.
Yep.
All right,
All
so
right.
moving into our next favorite topic, space. Um,
Obviously.
SpaceX launching soon. Obviously, we've talked about that before. But how do you think those NASA astronauts are holding up during quarantine, just waiting and waiting for their launch? Do you think they're training, or do you think they're just kind of
So
sitting around?
from what I've seen is that they went into quarantine today because it's launch.
Right.
Um, and yeah, I think that it's definitely like a whole mental battle right now up until the launch
Mm-hmm.
because as we've been saying, this will be the first time that humans will leave Earth from U.S. soil in I think like 9 years, I
It's been a
believe.
while. Yeah. 2011 was when the space shuttle was
Yeah, and
retired.
especially it'll be the first time ever that a private company, like non-government, will be launching anyone into space. So I definitely think it's a mental battle, but I mean, SpaceX has a great track record. They've only had, I think, two failed attempts out of their 90 plus total launches.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm hoping to go down and see it if um I have a chance because I mean, it truly is going to be a historic moment.
Definitely. First time in almost a decade.
Yeah,
So
it's the
more
shuttle.
space. We've got Starship, which is obviously Tesla, or not Tesla, SpaceX rather's, um, orbital launch vehicle versus NASA's SLS. It probably stands for like Space Launch System or something, but don't quote me on
Yep.
that.
Yeah, it is.
Why, why is there a need for the SLS? I honestly cannot think of any reason why NASA should build rockets.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've voiced this opinion in previous episodes. I don't see the reason for why NASA is building rockets at all anymore. I think they should be solely contract based.
Yeah,
They should
NASA
just be the people that give out the money.
NASA doesn't really have the budget to go through all the R&D that SpaceX, Boeing, Blue Origin all can go through. It's just they NASA deserves a lot more funding, especially when you look at what else the US decides to spend its money on. But
Yeah.
they definitely could probably manage it a little bit better.
Yeah. So here's my opinion on this topic. It's that SOS has been in development since before the shuttle was retired. So it's been 10 plus years.
Mhm.
And they have yet to even launch anything yet. And of my knowledge, what the SOS basically is it's made out of the spare parts from previous rockets. So it's basically just like a bunch of random parts put together,
It's the
and
iPhone
it's
SE of
each,
rockets.
if you will. Um, from what I've heard, is that each one costs approximately around $4 billion to make, compared to Starship, which is estimated to be around only 100 million.
Is the
And
SOS supposed to be reusable?
nope,
So
not at all.
that's I think that to even stay competitive with private industry at this point, you got to be making reusable rockets, get those launch costs way down.
Exactly, and it's also to see, like, I think we talked about this last episode, the philosophies between last week it was Blue Origin, but just the philosophies between SpaceX and NASA. It's that in this 10-year period, NASA has yet to produce a single SLS, and in the past 6 months, what you've seen, like Starship, has literally been built from the ground up.
Yeah,
They've done two successful hopper missions, which is when they just test the relanding, and they've already built, I think, 30 plus Raptor engines and tested them all,
right.
and they already have crew down in Texas building Starship 2. So
Hmm.
just seeing what both companies have been able, like what a government funded company has been able to do in 10 years versus what a small private company has been able to do in 6 months, and how the private companies outdoing the government one is just astonishing.
Well, you see the private industry doing or outdoing the government all over the place. Like great example is the postal service. Have you ever tried to get something shipped by USPS? It's absolutely miserable. But then you look to
Yeah.
FedEx, to Amazon Prime, to UPS, DHL even. Like it's just better. And I honestly it even with the coronavirus, when the private industry started making masks and producing tests, that's when things started to look better.
Yeah, I definitely, as you're saying, I totally agree. Just what private companies have been able to do in the past few years has made government sponsored ones almost obsolete.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean NASA's not producing very much, um, and what they're doing pales in comparison to SpaceX, Boeing, Blue Origin,
Yeah,
as we
I
already
mean, I
said.
definitely agree that they need more funding. I think the common conception is that it's of 1% of the US's annual budget or something around
Yeah,
that.
something crazy like that.
And I definitely think that it needs to be increased, but I think that money shouldn't be going towards building something that already exists and is already being done better.
Right.
It should go toward, making the satellites, or it should go to the private companies on contracts to get like different things done.
Yeah, definitely. Especially considering how important space exploration is going to be. Honestly, NASA deserves more, even if they are slightly mismanaging it.
Yeah. I
Well,
mean, even like what we've seen the past like 50, not even, it was around like 50 or 6 around 50 years ago, I think was when we went to the moon, late 60s. Um and just like what they've been able to do with this, like, air quotes, small budget they've been given. Like, imagine if you were to just double that, all the things that we could have done. especially
Hmm.
going forward.
Yeah, 100%. What do you think about another one of Elon's companies, Starlink? Their projects, not companies.
That's uh the internet one, correct?
Yeah, where they
Yeah.
send up the satellites and
Satellites. Yeah.
talking gigabit internet anywhere in the world.
Yeah, I think that was his goal, was to give you a solid internet connection no matter where you were on the earth, but for free.
Hmm. That would be incredible.
Yeah. Especially when you think about like all areas like third world countries that like are not able to advance because they don't have internet connections. Like
Hmm.
if you were to cover like everywhere in Africa and all of like South and Central Asia and just get everyone there an internet connection that you don't have to pay for. Imagine like all the advancements and
Right.
all technology and everything that could come from that. It'd be amazing.
Well, even relatively trivial things, like they require lots of technology and especially internet. Even this podcast it's edited on really good computers and obviously uploaded to the internet on a pretty fast connection. And if you don't have that, that just takes away so many opportunities to learn, to make money, to grow a business, to meet people. Most people, especially in quarantine, are communicating pretty much exclusively through Snapchat, Instagram, Zoom, Google Meet, or just texting.
Yeah,
It's
exactly. I mean,
critical.
how you said it, like without an internet connection, schools would have effectively shut down once this thing went into quarantine. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure every student has at least a Zoom or Google Meet per week, and without an internet connection, that would not happen.
exactly. Well, even if you think about like getting lost in the middle of a desert. If you had an internet connection and a phone, that just simply would not happen anymore. It solves so many problems.
Yeah,
What do you think about the people that are worried about like cluttering the atmosphere or whatever?
I've heard that. How they're saying, well, I don't think it's so much. I do think it'll be a problem if we launch too many things, but I think the larger problem is debris, like
Mhm.
when satellites collide with each other and then they just get broken up and their orbits are all messed up, and then it's just like little pieces of shrapnel. Um, because those pieces of shrapnel are traveling at hundreds and hundreds of miles an hour,
Obviously, right.
and I think it'll take a while for us to other orbital paths so much that we won't be able to launch like astronauts into space anymore.
Right.
I do think eventually it could happen.
Mhm.
Um, I think I think the best thing would be to just once satellites get old, um, I think they do like they alter their orbit so that they're closer, and then gravity just pulls them in, and they
Right.
burn up on reentry.
Mhm. I was obviously the physical cluttering was is a topic, but I was referring to like just visual cluttering, like looking up and seeing a bunch of Starlink satellites. Some people are worried about that. Does that bother you at all, or is it worth a trade off in your opinion?
No, I don't think I quite understand. What are they worried about?
I think they think that they're gonna be like super bright or something, and it's just gonna block out the night sky somehow. I'm not quite sure.
I think I think that by the point that we get that many in the sky, like that many in orbit, that it blocks out or like disrupts any um vision at night or anything. I think that would have much larger problems and implications before like just visually speaking.
That's true.
I haven't heard anything of how many they plan to launch. I think they do about 60 per launch.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I heard, just a few tweets that SpaceX and Elon put out, is that I think they're almost done with stage one. I
Right.
think they said it'll hopefully be done by the end of the year. And so far, I haven't. I mean, on just naming how many satellites we already have up, and on very rare occasions can you even see that they're out there,
Mm-hmm.
especially with most light pollution that's in the area anyway.
Exactly. Even if they did block out the night sky, like Um, one, I don't think that they'd completely ruin the experience of looking up at stars. and two, like incredibly fast internet wherever you go, maybe for free, even if it's not for free. That's just such an incredible thing. It's almost worth the sacrifice. And if we don't like it, we can always pull the satellites out of the sky.
Yeah, sure. And especially thinking like I don't know how large it'll be in areas around here, especially with like um 5G coming soon
Mm-hmm.
and how that'll definitely be faster than these satellites. But I mean, as we said earlier, just like the implications that it'll have for like um less well off countries and just bringing internet to them anywhere.
Mm-hmm. So we're going off script here. What do you think about Twitter becoming like the de facto way for people, for huge companies, and even our wonderful president to communicate? I think Trump tweeted like 160 times this past weekend.
Um, I mean, I've always considered Twitter. It's always like a war zone. You know, there's
Yeah,
sometimes you just not coming out of there the same way. I mean, definitely. I think it gives Twitter gives you a voice unlike any other social media network.
hmm,
Like Instagram, it's like photos you post every now and then. Facebook, the same thing. Snapchat, it's just do it and forget about it. But then Twitter, it's like whatever's on your mind anytime, you can just put your thoughts out to the world and share them with anyone that you want.
yeah.
Especially times when, I mean, we're basically the government and it's just common sense that we're not supposed to be with other people, like
Right.
contact. That, I mean, if you have anything that you would normally just say out loud, you can
You can
just
just say it.
say it.
I've always thought about creating a social media platform with no restrictions at all, like what you can post. You could post anything you want. You just have a disclaimer when you come on the site, like the content on this site does not reflect the opinions of the site's creators. Like you can monetize your videos as you see fit. If your ads get pulled, that's on you. And it's just no shadow banning, no censorship, no nothing. Kind of wonder if anybody's tried that before.
I mean, that's basically like a mix of like a YouTube Reddit esque platform.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It would
Um.
be interesting to see how it would play out. Have a feeling a lot of people wouldn't really understand the views on this site do not reflect those of its creator.
Yeah, and I feel like site like that would have. I feel like as long as like level-headed people were the large majority of those on the site, it would stay well. But once,
Once it turns to
um,
4chan,
yeah,
I'm not sure. Be interesting to see.
yeah, I'm sure there's websites out there. Like I know there's, if it's the U.S. Archives or there's an archives website where you can post anything you want without copyright violations.
Right.
You know, you can download a bunch of old like Atari games on it straight to the computer,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a bunch of articles you can read and videos you can watch that will be blocked, but
Yeah.
that doesn't have a whole lot of
Support.
traffic. Yeah.
Um. So as we were talking about Twitter, our trending topic, um, currently is again Elon Musk, but now he's a little angry at the state of California and he wants to reopen his factories. Premature or what you think?
Um, he already did reopen. I thought he reopened like yesterday or day previous, didn't he?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure. I've been pretty busy today. I haven't been keeping up with
So,
it. What do you
uh,
think about it though?
so the story from what I heard was that he tweeted out saying, California said that like large factories had to all be shut down, workers had to go home. And as we've talked in previous episodes, Elon's not been happy. Um he doesn't like being kept up in his multi-million dollar house.
Clearly not. Well,
Um
he sold all of them, so
yeah. Um so he tweeted out saying so he said he was gonna reopen the factory and that if anyone had a problem with it, they should come and arrest him. And I here, I'll Google it really quick.
I'm
But
pretty sure
I'm
what he
pretty
said
sure that
was, I'll be on the assembly line with them. If anybody's arrested, I ask it only be me. That's pretty impressive, pretty bold.
yeah, and I think that he later said that they were still respecting social distancing, that they didn't have like the crowded assembly line.
Hmm.
And I do believe that he did reopen the factory.
Nice. I think that honestly, I think that's a good move. We need to start making things. We need to start moving money around so that the economy is stronger. Because the economy's health is measured basically by the confidence of its citizens. If people are confident, they spend money. The economy is obviously healthier because the money's moving around. People saving money or people not spending money isn't actually that healthy for the economy.
Yeah, I think that we need to, especially as we said at the beginning of this episode, is that they're saying this could go all the way into next year.
Hmm.
Um, I think that we need to go into a more normalizing routine because that'll, even if like we don't open up everything, just we like little by little start opening up like more non-essential businesses
Right.
that people will like they'll be more comfortable. And even though if the threat hasn't completely gone away or isn't even lowering yet, people will be more comfortable and they'll be more willing to do things and just be able to go outside and get everything rolling again.
Right. Um, I think that restaurants are going to be a big thing to get back open. Maybe only like outdoor seating if your restaurant offers that even could be helpful. Um,
Yeah, restaurants are going to continue to take hits even after this is gone because
Definitely.
I feel the problem is that another reason why we should slowly bring everyone into um like a new normalizing is because if we stay in this like lockdown quarantine that we're in right now all the way until the threat's gone, it's going to take another month or two for everyone to get confidence again to go back
Right.
up. Instead, if we start opening up little by little now, by the time the threat's entirely gone, it'll be like the exact same thing that's been happening the
Hmm.
entire time.
You gotta almost wonder, like, at what point is it not worth staying in quarantine? How long would it take for you to be so sick of quarantine that you'd risk going out? I don't think that people could survive until January 2021, they're now saying, to be completely reopened.
Yeah, I think that if these restrictions like I mean, the restrictions here haven't been as harsh as they are in other parts of the world, and I think that also shows of how the problem here it hasn't been going away like it has in other parts of the world.
Mhm.
Um, I feel definitely once this summer hits, like if this isn't done by 4th of July, I think no matter what, people are going to the beach, people are going out, they're not gonna care.
Yeah, not only are people going crazy, I don't think that there's enough money in America to sustain people through January. Because if the government mandates people have to stay in their homes, well, the government's also got to pay for those people to stay in their homes, and food's not cheap. I don't think it's feasible.
Yeah, and I like how you brought up the food thing. Is that I know most meat factories have sent employees home because of the tight quarters that they all work in,
Hmm.
and that the problem is that so there was a news segment on I think last week. It's that like meat is running out in America.
Yeah, I think
But the farms have the livestock. It's just they have nowhere to send it.
Tyson Chicken said that they had to kill a bunch of their chickens, not because there wasn't demand for it, but simply because there wasn't people to process the chicken. It was just dying.
Yeah. I also wonder. I mean, I think it was episode 3 or 4 when we talked about um gas prices. It'll be cool to see do you think a bunch of things are going to take price drops once we start opening up because there's just going to be like a 4 month backup of surplus materials?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see because the supply has obviously gone up, but I think that I think that the demand for necessary things has stayed about the same, obviously, like it usually does. But I think that the demand for luxuries will skyrocket once we get out of quarantine because people are gonna want to take those big trips. People are gonna want to, I don't know, buy a new car or even something simple like redo their home. Um,
Everyone's gonna want to go back on the cruise ships.
exactly. We definitely need to be careful about that, but I think that a lot of people have kind of adopted a YOLO attitude after being stuck in their homes for how many weeks it's been.
Yeah. Just hold up. We started our first episode came out, I think, like 2 weeks into when they did the shutdown and all that, and
Yeah,
we're 6 weeks in now.
that was the original. That was like right after our schools in
It
Maryland
was
got
like a
closed.
week or two after we were out.
Right.
We were talking about how we don't know how long this is gonna go, and everyone thought, at least I know you, how you said your predictions have been right so far. I honestly thought we were gonna be back in school by the end of all this. Um, but nope.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it. I'm not. It's interesting. Did you hear what Anne Arundel County is doing about the grading policies?
I've heard that there's debate between doing normal or pass fail, but I haven't heard how they ruled it.
Oh, what I heard was implemented was that you either get a satisfactory and unsatisfactory for this for marking period 4, and if it's unsatisfactory, you keep your grade from last marking period as your semester grade, and if it is a satisfactory, you improve one letter grade. So I have a feeling that a lot of straight A students, myself included, if I had my way, would just completely not do any work. And a lot of kids that wouldn't normally deserve an extra letter would probably get one too.
I didn't hear about that. That's very interesting because yeah, when you think about it, like as long as you're in a decent spot, like anywhere from 90s to even upper 80s, you could just completely forget about these next. I think there's about 5 weeks left of the year.
Mm-hmm.
You could just completely forget about them and not even worry because for high school on your transcript it's only semester
It's only
grade.
semester grade, not
So
quarter by
even if
quarter.
you bomb one quarter, as long as your other one's high enough, they cancel out.
Yeah, it's I have a feeling that a lot less importance will be placed on GPAs in the coming months.
Yeah,
Because like I
especially
said, some kids are just gonna slack off, and some kids are gonna get grades that, quite frankly, they just don't deserve. All right,
all right.
so time to move into time capsule. I think this is week 3. Yep, week 3. Um, we got a pretty recent matchup. Well, very recent matchup. We got 2020, which is this year, obviously, versus 1985 for our first matchup. For 1985, we have "Take on Me" by Aha, "Like a Virgin" by Madonna, "Wake Me Up Before You Go Go" by Wham, "I Want to Know What Love Is" by Foreigner, and "Everybody Wants to Rule the World" by Tears for Fears. And then we have "Back to the Future," "The Breakfast Club," "The Goonies," "Blood Simple," and the Flacken and the Snowman. And then for 2020, which is interesting because it's an incomplete year, obviously, we have "Yummy" by Justin Bieber, "Stupid Love" by Lady Gaga, "Break My Heart" by Dua Lipa, "What a Man Gotta Do" by the Jonas Brothers, "Intentions" by Justin Bieber, and then we have "The Assistant," "Invisible Man," "Emma," "The Way Back," and "Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always."
I think this is the easiest matchup that we've had through this entire thing.
2020 sucks, bro.
I
I'm
mean,
not
I,
even
not to give anything away, but I had 85 going on to the final four.
85 going to the final 4. I actually don't
It's
have my bracket pulled up for some reason. Misprepared. I lost my little
yeah.
adapter, so I don't have enough slots on my computer for to attach a mouse and a keyboard.
Yeah, I mean the songs from that year are amazing. Um, and the movies are great. Breakfast Club is my favorite 80s movie. Um, The Goonies is awesome. And I think as you earlier you were praising Back to the Future.
Mm-hmm.
and the songs are all great. Take on Me, great.
It's a whole
You Go
meme
Go.
song now.
Have you seen Zoolander?
No, I haven't.
They play that song when they're at the gas station. They're at a gas station. Watch the movie.
All
JB,
right.
you've
I,
missed out on so many good
I
movies.
don't have time for all of this crap, dude. Which I know
Let
sounds
me
counterproductive because we're in quarantine,
let
but
me
I'm
just do a
I'm busy
quick
pissing
little
off my
preview.
neighbors.
Let me just do a quick little preview of the movie. So it's Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson, and they're male models, and um they're not like smart at all. And Ben Stiller and his friends, they go to a gas station and they have a gasoline fight, and then one of them
Wait a
lights a
minute.
cigarette and they all blow up.
That doesn't sound great.
That's a great movie. Oh, Will Ferrell's in it too.
Just round out the trifecta.
Yep. And then yeah, I mean, even in light of what's happening already this year, just nothing really has stood out,
Yeah.
especially for music,
Music was
mainly
just
because
blah.
you haven't been able to see any movies yet.
Mm-hmm. I have a feeling that if Top Gun Maverick came out, we'd be placing this a little higher.
Yeah.
Okay, but pretty decisively, 1985 is moving on. Okay, next matchup, 71 versus 83. Jack, you want to read them out?
Sure. 71, we have Joy to the World, Three Dog Night, Maggie May by Rod Stewart, It's Too Late by Carole King, One Bad Apple by the Osmonds, and How Can You Mend a Broken Heart by the Bee Gees. For movies, we have Clockwork Orange, The French Connection, The Last Picture, Straw Dogs, and Harold and Maude. And for 83, we have for music Every Breath You Take, The Police, Billie Jean by Michael Jackson, Flashdance, What a Feeling by Irene Cara, Down Under by Men at Work, Beat It by Michael Jackson, and for movies we have Scarface, Star Wars Return of the Jedi, Vacation, and A Christmas Story.
Um, this one's pretty quick for me, but I want to hear your opinion first. What you got, Jack?
I think it's pretty quick too. I mean, I'm more accustomed to the music and movies from '83, especially some really standout uh music and movies.
Mm-hmm.
Vacation's a classic. Christmas Story, I watch that every year on Christmas morning, like 3 or 4 times because I wake up at 5 a.m.
And
Um,
Scarface, obviously.
yeah.
You could,
Star Wars, the last one from the original trilogy.
which is the best
Um,
one.
no, it's not. Five's the
Which is
best.
the five is not the best. What even happens in five? Nothing. The five is all dedicated to setting up for Return of the Jedi.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. I'm sorry if you can't handle the truth. You should go vote on our Instagram right now at Eastside Sauce whether or not you think Return of the Jedi or Empire Strikes Back is the better movie.
Empire.
I don't think it's
All right.
Empire.
Regardless of that, E3 also for me has better music.
Yeah, too. I don't really know any of those songs except for Billie Jean and Beat It, but Michael
You
Jackson,
don't know
obviously.
Under.
No. I told you, dude, all of my favorite 80s and 90s songs are not on this list, and it makes me angry.
You should have
Honestly
spent
disappointed.
5 hours making the list then.
You know, you threw this together like insanely quickly. It's
320 plus songs and movies.
it was impressive. He goes, all right, I'm gonna make a list of all the songs, and then like a little while later, he's like, all right, I shared it to you, and it's a whole 13 pages long. All right, but we got 1983 moving on to
I'm gonna check
round
my
two.
back. I think I had that one going on to a Final Four too.
That one's going to be going up against 1985, so both of those statements can't be true. For me, 1983 moves on to the Final Four.
83 did? No,
Yeah.
I had 85. Most of 3 out of 4 of my Final Fours were 80s were 80s years.
No spoilers, but I had one fairly recent, one from the aughts, one from the 80s, and one from the 90s. They got a pretty good mix.
I think we have one of the same years going to the final four.
I
I
think,
think we do.
yeah, I want to compare personal brackets, but I also want to keep the suspense, so I'm not really sure. Next
All right.
matchup, we have 1967. No, 1967 versus 1994. For 1967, we have To Sir with Love by Lulu, The Letter, The Box Tops, Ode to Billy Joe by Bobby Gentry, Windy by The Association, and I'm a Believer by the Monkees. For movies, we have Cool Hand Luke, Bonnie and Clyde, Wait Until Dark, Les Samurai, and The Graduate. And then for 1994, no spoilers, but I have this one going really far. I've got
Yeah, I could tell that from the first movie.
yeah. From all those movies, what are you talking about? We got The Sign by
Yeah.
Ace of Base, I Swear by All for One, I'll Make Love to You by Boys to Men, The Power of the Dream by Celine Dion, and Hero by Mariah Carey. And then for the movies, how are you gonna beat this, dude? We got Pulp Fiction, Forrest Gump, Shawshank Redemption, Lion King, and Speed.
I
That's
mean, I think that's a
loaded.
pretty straightforward one too.
Pulp Fiction, Forrest Gump, Shawshank Redemption. Some of the best movies of all time. I said Pulp Fiction was one of my top 5 or top 3. I can't remember. I forgot about Shawshank Redemption somehow, which is uncharacteristic. And then Forrest Gump, classic. Lion King brings a tear to my eye when Mufasa dies. It's not good for mental health. But what's your opinion on this one?
I completely agree with you. 94, yeah, for sure.
All
I
right.
mean, I'm not super accustomed to the song so much on either front.
Yeah.
Takes it.
The movies are insane. So, second to last, matchup 4, we have 1982 versus 1969. Another 60s. We have from 1969, Sugar Sugar by the Archies, Aquarius, Let the Sunshine In by the Fifth Dimension, I Can't Get Next to You by the Temptations, Honky Tonk Woman by the Rolling Stones, Everyday People by Sly and the Family Stones, and then Midnight Cowboy, Anne of the Thousand Days, They Shoot Horses, Don't They? Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and True Gift. And we from 1982, we have Physical by Olivia Newton-John, Eye of the Tiger by Survivor, I Love Rock and Roll by Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, Ebony and Ivory by Paul McCartney and Stevie Wonder rather, Centerfold by the G Gales Band, and we have Blade Runner, E.T., The Thing, Poltergeist, and Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
All of these matchups have been like extremely one-sided.
Yeah, we're not much discussion going on this episode.
If it makes me more mad, I have 82 beating out 94 in round two.
See that pisses me off because one, you've gone and spoiled it, so there's that, and two, like, what the hell are you doing, dude? Shawshank Redemption, Pulp Fiction, and Forrest Gump are getting beat by like what? Friggin' Eye of the Tiger?
Dude, you got Blade Runner, E.T., The Thing, and Poltergeist.
That's just foul. All right, next week save it for I believe it'll
We'll have a
be
third down of just you and me arguing for
all
40
right.
minutes.
All right, we can. We'll include that in the episode 10 special. But I think we both agree 82 moving on, no question.
I mean, physical, great song, Eye of the Tiger, Rocky. All the other songs are great. As I said, Blade Runner, I haven't seen the sequel to that one yet,
Neither
but
have
I've heard on like the better end of 21st century sequels to 80s movies.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even classic Spielberg, I believe it was.
Yeah.
The Thing, I think it's a marvelous horror movie. Definitely worth checking out if you haven't seen it. Poltergeist as well.
Spooky.
And I have not gotten around to watching Fast Times at Richmond High, but I've heard that it's
It's a classic.
club-esque.
Yeah. Um.
Checking out.
Damn, dude, I gotta prepare for a war next week. You're really gonna have 1994, man. All right, final matchup. For this week, we've got 1964 versus 1968. Um, this one might be close because we both don't like 60s. No offense to anybody born in the 60s, but your movies suck.
By 64, we have I Want to Hold Your Hand by the Beatles, She Loves You again by the Beatles, Hello Dolly by Louis Armstrong, Oh Pretty Woman, Roy Orbison, I Get Around, the Beach Boys. For movies, we have Doctor Strangelove, Goldfinger, Hush Hush, Sweet Charlotte, Safe Fails, and The Killers. And then on 68, we have Hey Jude by the Beatles, Love is Blue by Paul Marriott, Honey by Bobby Goldsboro, The Dock of the Bay by Otis Redding, People Gotta Be Free by the Rascals. And for movies, we have 2001 A Space Odyssey, Once Upon a Time in the West, Rosemary's Baby, The Producers, and The Lion in the Winter.
I really don't recognize much from these years. 1964 is the oldest year in the bracket. All I
know
all I
all of
recognize
the
is the
songs.
Beatles, Goldfinger, more Beatles from 68, and then 2001 A Space Odyssey.
Yeah, what I've heard good reviews. Talked to my parents and uncles and aunts. They said Doctor Strangelove supposedly really good. Um, like I said, I know all those Beatles songs. I listened to Hey Dolly by Louis Armstrong,
Bruh,
and
it's
also I know
Louis
Get Around
Armstrong.
by
Come on now.
Armstrong and Beach Boys. And then from 68, I don't recognize really any of those songs besides Hey Jude.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
I
one
think
2001 on it.
we just gotta. Personally, I just put 68 forward simply because of 2001: A Space Odyssey. One of the greatest sci-fi movies of all time, in my opinion. And I am a
Let's
connoisseur of the genre.
see what I put. That one I put 4, but let me see.
It's basically Goldfinger versus 2001: A Space Odyssey at this point.
Yeah, and yeah, I'll put 2001 over it.
Okay. So, final matchup, we have 1968 moving on to the second round.
And that closes out this week's bracket, right?
Yeah. Yep. Make sure to stay tuned for episode 7. We will have our first round 2 matchups, and we'll move into the quarterfinals.
We have one more matchup from first round.
Yep.
And then we'll
Yeah.
do
We're deciding our quarter round matchups.
ones.
Yeah, should be definitely good to see. Make sure to subscribe and stay tuned for that.
Yeah, for sure.
Anything else you want to cover?
No, that's been about it. It's been a dry week in news. Especially we'll have some good stuff to talk about once they do that SpaceX launch.
Definitely.
Yeah, but other than that, I think not much.
Yeah. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Eastside Sauce. I'm
Let
gonna
us
be posting. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was telling them. Let us know who's right. Is it Empire or Jedi?
It's definitely
Empire.
Jedi. You're wrong. You're wrong. Dog, I run the Twitter account. I'll literally just China this joint and take down the responses if they're wrong. But definitely, definitely follow us there. We're committing to being more active on both the Twitter and Instagram. So definitely follow us there. Like we said, subscribe for episode 7, week 4, I believe, of Time Capsule. Thank you guys very much for watching.
One week closer to episode 10 where we got the big surprise.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely stay tuned for that. It's gonna be pretty awesome quarantine content. All right.
Thanks for watching.
Yep. Stay inside, socially distance, and as always, be good people.